Chapter 4. The Black Mercedes. Inspector Ahmed and Layla were waiting for Salahuddin when his plane landed at Cairo International Airport. They had a police car and a driver with them. The driver set out immediately for the Ministry of the Interior in the center of Cairo. "Have you any news of Dr. Pharaoh and his wife?" was Salahuddin's first question.
"We have checked every hotel in Cairo," replied Inspector Ahmed. "We cannot find them at all."
"What about Luxor?" asked Salahuddin. "Have you tried to find them in Luxor?"
"Why Luxor?" asked Ahmed.
Salahuddin told Ahmed and Layla what he had learnt in London, and he told them about Dr. Pharaoh's book, The Mystery of Queen Axtate. In his book, Salahuddin explained, Pharaoh claims that the tomb of Queen Axtate is near Luxor on the east bank of the Nile.
"But all the tombs of the pharaohs and the queens of Egypt are on the west bank of the Nile," interrupted Layla.
"Pharaoh explains that in his book," replied Salahuddin. "Queen Axtate knew that all the tombs were on the west bank. She was a very clever woman, and that's why she had her tomb made on the east bank of the Nile."
"And you think that Pharaoh has come here to Egypt to look for this tomb?" Inspector Ahmed asked Salahuddin.
"I'm sure that's what he is doing," replied Salahuddin, "and he's not alone."
"Yes, his wife is with him," agreed Layla.
"I don't mean his wife," said Salahuddin. "I think there is a gang of smugglers with him." The car stopped at a big roundabout in Heliopolis, a modern suburb of Cairo. A large black Mercedes drew up beside them.
"Why do you think there's a gang with him?" asked Ahmed.
"I'll answer that question in a few moments," replied Salahuddin. "First, I want to buy some cigarettes."
"What do you want cigarettes for?" asked Layla. "You don't smoke."
Salahuddin did not answer Layla's question. Instead, he spoke to the driver. "Do you know that cigarette kiosk about 200 meters on the right?" The driver nodded his head to show that he understood. "Stop in front of the kiosk," Salahuddin told the driver. The car slowed down, moved over to the right, and stopped by the pavement. Salahuddin got out of the car and walked slowly over to the kiosk. He bought a packet of cigarettes and walked back to the car. "Don't start yet," Salahuddin told the driver. He turned and spoke to Ahmed and Layla. "Do you see that black Mercedes parked beside the pavement, about 20 meters in front of us?" They both looked at it carefully.
"It's got a foreign number plate," said Inspector Ahmed.
"That's the one," said Salahuddin. "Now, watch what happens." The police car drove away from the side of the road. When they had driven past the Mercedes moved away from the pavement and followed them. "I noticed it earlier," Salahuddin told the others. "I thought that car was following us. Now I am sure." They were approaching a busy road junction in the center of Heliopolis. There were traffic lights ahead of them, and a tram was coming up to the junction from the right. The lights in front of them were changing from green to red. "Drive as fast as you can," Salahuddin told the driver. "Get across before that tram comes." The driver put his foot on the accelerator and drove across the tram lines. The Mercedes tried to follow behind them. The tram driver rang his warning bell loudly. The tram brakes squealed as the tram tried to stop, but it was too late. The tram hit the back of the Mercedes, and the car ran onto the grass. It stopped in the middle of the junction. "Stop! Quick!" shouted Salahuddin. The police driver stopped as quickly as he could. Salahadin, Ahmed and Layla jumped out of the car and ran back. But they were too late. 2 men who had been in the car had jumped out. They had disappeared through the crowd of people who were running towards the accident.
"Too late," said Ahmed. "They've escaped."
"Let's have a look inside the Mercedes," said Salahadin. Inspector Ahmed went up to a traffic policeman and showed him his identity card.
"Go and phone the police at the Ministry of the Interior," Inspector Ahmed told the traffic policeman. "Here's the telephone number. Tell them that Chief Inspector Ahmed Abbas is here."
Ahmed and Layla kept the crowd away from the Mercedes while Salahadin searched through it. Salahadin sat in the driver's seat of the Mercedes and looked around inside. He picked up a packet of cigars and a book which was lying on the back seat of the car. Then he looked in the boot which had sprung open in the crash with the tram. He found nothing else. 2 policemen arrived. Ahmed told them to keep the crowd away from the Mercedes and to wait for the police from the Ministry of the Interior.
"They'll tow the car away with them,"
he explained to the policeman. They walked back again to their own car.
"What did you find?"
Layla and Ahmed asked together. "A packet of cigars," replied Salahadin. "Dutch cigars."
"So it is the Amsterdam ring," remarked Layla.
"Perhaps," replied Salahadin, "but whoever they are, they're involved with Pharaoh. Look." Salahadin held up the book he had found in the Mercedes. It was The Mystery of Queen Axtate by Dr. John Pharaoh.